In this installment, we're going to discuss the Council of Toledo. We'll discuss how some of the church fathers of that council wanted dogma to adapt to the times. We'll discuss whether that sentiment prefigures what's going on during our time.
Alleluia, alleluia. Everybody sing alleluia, for the Lord has risen, it is true. Everybody sing alleluia. 30 years he walked the land. Alleluia, alleluia. To all in need he lent his hand. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia. Everybody sing alleluia.
Hello, welcome to this playlist, which is devoted to a discussion and better understanding of the Second Vatican Council. We're discussing some of the things that led up to the council, and we're starting from the very beginning of church history. And I submit to you that the church shouldn't follow society and its values. It should lead society and instill values. Objection.
I have to say, there's just something about it that seems to me to be upside down. A group of celibate old men are going to tell you how to live as a family. Shouldn't you be telling us?
Well, I answer that segments of the church have already tried to adapt to the culture in the past, and it always ended disastrously. The way the church has dealt with the issue of concubinage should serve as a cautionary tale for our times. In the year 400, the First Council of Toledo discussed the acceptance of the Nicene Creed. It made certain declarations about heretics and made decisions about how clergy should act. What made the council particularly noteworthy is that it also dealt with the issue of concubines. Now, before we discuss the Council of Toledo, we should first discuss the nature of church councils. Not all councils are created equal. For instance, the Council of Toledo was not an ecumenical council. Ecumenical councils are those to which bishops and others entitled to vote are convoked from the whole world under the presidency of the Pope or his legates, and the decrees of which, having received papal confirmation, bind all Christians. In the past installment on What is Dogma, I didn't address whether what is promulgated by an ecumenical council becomes dogma. The answer to that question is that it may become dogma, but there are some notable exceptions to this, and we're going to discuss those in future installments. The Council of Toledo was not an ecumenical council. It was a primatial council, and it involved clergy from provinces that were subject to the primate of Toledo. It would be comparable to a special session of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops or the German's Bishop Conference. Fortunately, nobody has ever suggested that anything coming out of either of these groups is infallible dogma. Likewise, no one has ever suggested that the Council of Toledo or similar primatial councils ever created dogma. As you may also recall from past installments, marriage is between a man and a woman. Sexual liaisons outside of marriage are sinful. In the year 400, Spain was still part of the decaying Roman Empire. In secular Roman society, it was socially acceptable for men to have mistresses. Concubines held a relatively dignified social status. A concubine was sort of like a quasi-wife, and a concubine was recognized by law for inheritance purposes if there was no legal wife. All of that, however, was at odds with church teaching. The bishops at this Council of Toledo, like many people nowadays, thought that the church should adapt with the times. The council pronounced the sentence of excommunication against anyone who, in addition to having a wife, also kept a concubine. However, it also added, "But if a man has no wife, but a concubine instead of a wife, let him be not refused communion. Only let him be content to be united with one woman, whether wife or concubine." The 17th canon of the council also suggested that it would be acceptable to have either a wife or a concubine. Only one woman, a wife or a concubine, that shall please him. That is the union of intimacy. It was St. Augustine, writing shortly after the First Council of Toledo, that led the church to more rigidly define the sacrament of marriage. Later, the Council of Trent not only renewed all the old ecclesiastical penalties against concubinage, but also added new ones. As we said at the beginning, this issue about concubinage and the way the church has dealt with it is a cautionary tale for our times. For instance, through a YouTube search, I just randomly found a video that kind of hits on the topic that we're discussing. It discussed the recent legalization of so-called gay marriage in Ireland. And the two commentators, I'm not familiar with them other than doing this YouTube search, felt that if the church didn't get on board with society and recognizing so-called gay marriage, it would become irrelevant. I submit to you that the church would become irrelevant if all it does is rubber stamp what society demands. As this clip plays, picture in your mind that they might be citizens of Spain discussing the issue of concubinage in the year 400 instead of discussing the issue of so-called gay marriage in the 21st century.
All right. As we talked about, Ireland legalizing gay marriage by popular vote, a referendum, 62% said yes to gay marriage. 84% of that country is Catholic. So certainly very interesting in terms of what it implies for the future of the Catholic Church and what's going on inside of it. And a senior Vatican official has attacked the legalization of gay marriage in Ireland. I was deeply saddened by the result, said Cardinal Pietro Parolin, the Vatican's Secretary of State, essentially considered to be the sort of second most important person who could weigh in on stuff behind the Pope. He went on to say the church must take account of this reality, but in that sense, it must strengthen its commitment to evangelization. I think that you cannot just talk of a defeat for Christian principles, but of a defeat for humanity. This is the top diplomat of the Catholic Church. When I say increasingly irrelevant, I mean ideologically, right? There are still more than 1 billion Catholics on this planet, but the views on issues are becoming decoupled among Catholics from the church's official view, and that has to be making the church's official view less and less relevant.
So why wouldn't the church, kind of move with the Catholic people in that direction?
That's really the question, right? If as a church you're losing congregants ideologically, they're still on paper Catholics, right? But on the issue of gay marriage, for example, increasingly your congregants don't agree with you. That doesn't bode well for your church long term if you're not willing to change your views. I don't know ultimately what the Catholic Church is going to do on this.
I don't see their recruitment or I don't see that going up. I don't see them gaining more members in the future. I mean, they have to make some changes here.
And that's the real defeat for humanity. Ireland passing gay marriage by popular vote is not a defeat for humanity. The defeat for humanity is the Catholic Church seeing the results of this election. And instead of realizing times are changing, our retrograde morality is antiquated, we should change, they say, no, everybody else is wrong, we're still right. That's really the sad thing here, and hopefully they will change their view on this.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this installment. We'll be back again soon with another installment. And in the meantime, please pray for the church.
Some